Hi knitters, welcome to episode 175 of the Knitty McPurly podcast. I'm your host, Devin Ventry. You can find me at KnittyMcPurly.com. I am Knitty McPurly on Instagram. And if you want to email me, I am Devin at KnittyMcPurly.com. That is Devin with an I. Welcome to the podcast. It is so cold and dreary outside. I mean, it's not cold. It's like 55. But, I was excited for like shorts. And we are just not there yet. But I'm drinking tea and I'm wearing a sweater, so I can't complain. I'm drinking tea out of this amazing mug sent to me by Barb, Erin, and Amy. Hi, ladies. This is the Crater Lake Park blanket from Portland, Oregon. Isn't it so beautiful? Gosh, I love the colors so much. Got some tea in there, and I'm wearing my Audrey sweater. And check out this necklace. Christy Glass sent me this. Isn't that so pretty? It's like embroidered. I have my Audrey sweater on. This is not Beryl, the color that's in my shop. This is an earlier color that I did called Jean Valjean after Les Miserables. And, but it's very similar to Beryl. But I know many of you have knit an Audrey. It is a very, very versatile sweater. This is the sweater that Gigi told me to wear to mass this morning, but I was cold, so I wore my Hepburn instead. I get them confused in my head because this one's called Audrey and the other one's called Hepburn. And it has a turtleneck and it's just so warm. But I've warmed up a little bit since then. So anyway, my husband and I went on an anniversary date last night and I ate everything in the restaurant. So I'm feeling kind of puffy today. But we had a great time. Here's a little picture of us. And we went to one of my favorite shops in Culpeper called The Green Roost. And they have a website too. So if you're interested in adorable stuff, I'll link that website below. But I got these bowls. Aren't they so cute and just so pretty? I love bright bowls. I don't know why I love them so much. Maybe it's tied into my love of those Pennsylvania Dutch hex signs. Just things that look like that. I love them. So, those of you who are coming to the retreat are probably going to want to hear me talk about the saga of the Facebook group. I'm going to tell that story in So Here's What Happened at the end of the podcast, so that if you're not interested, it's not really knitting related, it's knitting retreat related, you can turn it off at that point if you don't want to hear the story. Also, nobody sent me a story, so I'm contributing my own story this week. If you have a knitting story, send it to me. Devin with an I at KnittyMcPurly.com. I need a story 52 weeks a year, folks. Help me out. All right, progress and shop news. Okay. One of the most exciting things that has happened in the shop this week is a new hand balm. Isn't it so beautiful? Gigi said, Mom, your labels just keep getting better and better. This is Summer Peony. And it smells so good. It smells very clean and florally. Mine is a disaster. This is my favorite way to use it. Last night, I did this and I woke up this morning just so soft and smooth. So I like to get in there and get like that much, okay? And I like to really get in there. I mean, if I were, going to be touching my hair or my clothes or whatever, I wouldn't do that much, but I'll put it on like this. And you can take what's on your palms and kind of rub it into your elbows a little bit, and then wipe your palms off and just leave it on there on the backs of your hands. And it is so good. And I put it on my feet. It is great because we're almost into sandals and flip-flop weather. So I need my feet to look good, right? It's hand balm and everything balm. But this scent in Summer Peony, I only have it in the tins right now. I don't have this one in the sticks, but I will have more coming. I used to do balm like seasonally, but people love it so much that I'm really doing it like every couple weeks, every 6 weeks or so. So this is the one that's in the shop now. There will be more coming. You guys love the balm. I love the balm too. It's very popular in my house. Like I said, we put it on absolutely everything. It's like Frank's Red Hot. Put it on everything, but don't intermix the two because that wouldn't work. Okay. All right. Another big thing that went into the shop this week are day passes for the retreat. Let me tell you about these. So if you want to come to the retreat and you're local to the Dallas area, you know, within driving distance, and you just want to come for one day, you can do that. You can pick either Friday or Saturday, and you don't have to pick yet. What I'm going to do is have the people who got the day passes can choose their day after we have the schedule finalized. Because if the class you want is on a different day, then you're going to want to pick your classes, pick your day after the classes, and the schedule is final. So the listing up on the website is a single day pass for the 2025 retreat in Grapevine, either Friday or Saturday. You don't have to choose right now. So the pass gets you a full day of fun with new and old knitting friends, starting at approximately like 8 in the morning and then going kind of as late as you want to stay. People will stay up and, in our main areas as long as they'll let us. I think they close it maybe at 10, but there's always the lobby. I mean, for night owls who want to stay up and knit, you can stay as long as you want. Knitting classes taught by volunteer attendees. Some of those volunteer attendees are amazing designers and people who know a lot of stuff, people who've been knitting for a long time and are good at teaching. So that's going to be fun. It also includes food, breakfast and dinner. The retreat, we're not doing lunch because I found that people wanted to go out for lunch and, into the neighboring areas and, check out some restaurants and things like that. So lunch is on your own, but it does include breakfast and dinner. Vendors, of course, and access to the Facebook group, and also the swag bag. So now that's a lot of stuff. The main things that your fee for the day pass go towards are the food, the room rental at the hotel, use of that space, and the swag bag. So that's what the cost is about. Being able to use the rooms at the hotel and having food provided and all of that, classrooms throughout the day, AV equipment, whatever else is needed. Also boring stuff like insurance and taxes, like that's always a thing and it costs money. So I hope you don't balk at the fee. It's $225 for a day pass. The value of what's in the swag bag ought to mostly pay for your ticket. The swag bag is pretty good. And it just keeps getting better because people keep messaging me and saying, hey, can I put this in the swag bag? Hey, can I put this in the swag bag? And I'm like, yes, I would love to put your pattern or sample of your yarn in the swag bag. If you are a yarn dyer or you make notions or bags or anything that you would like to contribute to the swag bag, get in touch with me and we can work something out. So, because I would love to include more people into the community. You want your name out there. This group of people is such a wonderfully curated group, and you've curated yourselves, really. Like, you're just great people. In reading the comments and the emails you guys send me, not only are you a group of kind people, but also very knowledgeable and intelligent. Like, I think I just have the smartest podcast watchers around. Because especially today, I just have some really, really amazing comments. Okay, yes, if you want to put something in the swag bag, email me and we'll work something out. Okay, the Summer Vibe Knitalong, I guess has started. Whenever you want to start is fine. I'm going to close it out May 31st. And, the way I run Knitalongs is very whatever. Like, it's just, join if you want to. Like, it's just it's low key. Okay. I don't like a lot of rules because I feel like knitting is a place where we can kind of do what we want. And I want people to join in and not be like, oh no, did I start too soon? Or, I've done that where I start too soon and then I'm like, well, I think I'm out of the Knitalong because I didn't follow all the rules. Anyway, the way that you can follow along with other people, we're going to be posting progress pictures, and I will do that. Before I put this podcast up, I will put a picture out for the Knitty McPurly Summer Vibe Knitalong. The hashtag is KMP Summer Vibe Cal. And that way you can go, if you forget what it is, you can go look at it on my page and then it will redirect you on Instagram. That's where this is happening, on Instagram. If you don't use Instagram, you can email me, just put the hashtag or something along those lines in the subject line so I know to include you for the knit along. Because we will have some kind of prize at the end. I don't know what it is. I'll probably come up with it that day, but it'll be a good prize. But the prize really is that you knit this awesome top. Now, I have been in touch with Trine Bertelsen, who is the designer of this wonderful top. And she is just so sweet and delightful. I mean, it's always a little embarrassing for Americans, at least I find it embarrassing, to message someone who I know she speaks English, or I guess I don't even know that because I have patterns available in languages that I don't speak, to interact with them in my language and expect them to respond to me in my language. Like, that's just kind of annoying. But that said, most people do speak English, and she is from Denmark. I do not speak Danish. I don't know one word of Danish. So she's extremely gracious and kind. And you know, I'm so embarrassed that I'm talking to you in my own language and I expect you to respond to me in my language. But I originally said, would you like to come on the podcast, like for an interview? And she said, because I said, your English is great, you know, having read her pattern and having communicated with her over email. She was like, well, I write better than I speak. And who knows, maybe she's great at that too. And she's just downplaying it. But she seemed a little nervous. So I said, what if you just contributed a knitting story? That way you can either take a video or you can send it to me and I'll read it for you. That way she can be a little bit more known to you guys since we're knitting her pattern without maybe being on the spot quite so much like an interview would do. So we'll see what she says. I've been, you know, back and forth emailing with her a little bit, and I just sent that idea this morning. So we'll see what she said. My progress on this has been a little slow just because it's been a really busy week. I've been doing a lot of stuff for the retreat, which if you are a retreat attendee, you know you've gotten several emails from me. But I am this far. It's still the longest size 1 needle that I have is 16 inch because normally I don't use this size of needle for anything but socks. So isn't it gorgeous though? So I ordered one on Amazon that is longer. I think it's 24 inches and that comes today. So I'll be able to just spread this out a little bit more and not worry about losing stitches. Isn't it funny how the frost stripe looks bigger? It does on Trina's top too. So this is what would traditionally be called the right side. And here is the wrong side, but this is the side that she has facing out. I don't know what I'm gonna do. I think I'm gonna try and sew my seams so that I could do it either way. But I just think it's so pretty. I think I kind of like this side better. It's just a little bit tidier. And like I said, I did my centered double decrease instead of the knit 3 together. But I think it's an optical illusion that the frost stripe looks bigger. I think it's because it's a lighter color. I don't know. Because if the dusty stripe looks a little bit bigger too. Interesting. Anyway, I had closed out the pre-orders for the Fiji fingering, which is half wool, half cotton. It is amazing to work with. It has great stitch definition. It has the qualities of cotton. Cotton has amazing stitch definition, but it's not crunchy. You know how cotton gets crunchy? By adding that wool in there, it just ensures that it is soft. So it is a great base. I have the kits up for, I think it's $162, which is $18 per skein. That is a reduction of $10 per skein if you buy the kit. Anyway, I had sold out of the pre-orders and then I had emails saying, bring them back. We need more pre-orders. So I put up a couple more pre-orders. If you want to get one, I would go get one soon because they're probably going to sell out again. But yeah, I haven't had a lot of knitting time this week and I really wish that I had because it was beautiful. Charlotte was sick all week. It was a weird week, but I got a lot done. I don't know. She's all better now. Poor Charlotte. Okay, next weekend, my husband and I are going to Grapevine to check out the retreat venue and the local yarn stores and the local restaurants, and it's gonna be great. I'm excited about it. It was our wedding anniversary yesterday, and so I showed you the picture. We went out for that, but this is kind of like our little anniversary trip, so that's gonna be really fun. My husband is a huge barbecue fan. He just loves barbecue, and especially Dallas area and Austin. I think Dallas and Austin both have really good barbecue places. He's been to Terry Black's, so we're probably not going to go there, but he has some ideas about the other places he wants to go. Terry Black's is the only one that I remember the name, but there's a couple that he's really excited about, so we'll be doing that. I don't know if there'll be a podcast next week because Sunday's a travel day. Like, we're going to go to Mass, and then we have to be at the airport by like 10. So I don't think I'll have time on Sunday to do the podcast, but I may have time on Saturday. We'll see. Maybe not. I might do it Monday. That's possible. Maybe Monday. I don't know. Anyway, if you don't see me, just wait longer and something will pop up. But I will be talking all about the retreat venue and everything that I saw. Pictures and video. It's going to be great. Also, Lisa, my friend Lisa, who lives in Grapevine, she's the one who recommended Grapevine to me because it's got so many things so close to DFW. She said that this weekend is the end of the North Texas yarn crawl and that I should definitely go visit some of those yarn shops. So I'm definitely going to go to Fiber Lady, which is bamboo yarn, which is right near Grapevine. And the yarn store that's actually in Grapevine is called On the Lamb. So I'm going to be going there too. There's a couple other ones. Lone Star Yarn is only about 10 minutes away. So if I have time, I might go there. Knit Dallas looks the most like metropolitan, like the fanciest. It's like the Pearl Soho of Dallas. That's how it looks online. That's a little further away. It's about 30 minutes, but we're packing a lot into this trip. We're going to go visit my husband's cousin who lives in Dallas, and I think we might roll a yarn store trip into that visit. I'm not exactly sure where they live. We'll see. We'll see what I have time for, but it's going to be great. A couple more things I want to mention. I want to talk about the Knitty McPurly Advent Calendar. I always do an Advent calendar, and one of the things that has kind of set my Advent calendars apart is that they come with patterns. But you may remember me talking about design fatigue. I just have not been designing lately. And it's not a bad thing. It's just more of I'm going to close the door on this for now and open the door on other things. I don't feel bad about it or anything. In fact, I've had people who are new designers message me and I'm like, yay, the universe has replaced me. It's great. So, but I thought, what if I included an existing pattern, like one of the patterns that I have already written, and then did dyed yarn along a theme? Lots of designers do that. They choose a theme and then, make their colors kind of align around that. So what do you think about that? I know I had talked about doing ornaments again, and last year they were so great. They were so much fun. But I don't have 9 patterns in me. I just don't have them in me. So let me know what you think. Okay. All right, last thing I want to mention is Julie of the Knitty Cats. Oh my gosh, I saw this picture on Instagram and I was like, she looks so amazing. These are her colors. Hi, Julie. Hi, Deb. These colors look so good on her. This is the Benedicta sweater and she's using Meadow, I think, for her main color. And the complementary color was last year's Mother's Day kit. So it's amazing. Go check out her podcast. I have not watched it yet, but I'm sure it will not disappoint as they are always so, so good. Okay, the comments section. Do you remember Pam, who messaged me about the blanket that she made for her, I think it was her grandson, and she was concerned about not slipping that stitch on the edge and how it just is not gonna look quite as tidy. And she was like, I feel good about letting that go. Well, she decided to crochet an edge to cover it up. And here is a picture of that. It looks so good. It's not a detailed picture. You can't see the crocheted edge, but that's a great example of how we can You can usually mask it or just make it better. And honestly, I think it probably looked great without the crochet edge, but a crochet edge on a blanket is always good. It probably gives it some stability too if it's garter stitch. Is this garter, Pam? It looks like it is. So, so pretty. Great job. Okay, here's the part of the podcast where knitting defies the law of non-contradiction. Now, those of you out there who were not blessed to study philosophy in college for 4 years like I did so smartly and intelligently, that was worth $80,000. The law of non-contradiction says that a thing cannot both be and not be at the same time and in the same respect. So this is kind of a controversial law, but in general, it mostly holds up. So here is how Henrietta has said that the law of non-contradiction just does not apply when it comes to color dominance. She says, Henrietta says, thanks for the discussion on color dominance. I decided to add my 2 cents to it today. Now, Henrietta's 2 cents are worth more than most people's 2 cents because she is so smart and she articulates this concept so well. She says color dominance both exists and doesn't exist at the same time, depending on the style and quality of knitting a knitter produces. Now, this is the part where I love because it makes me sound awesome. Okay, are you ready? It says, this fits with your theory that sometimes it exists and sometimes it doesn't. But I don't think this is because of colors being elusive or changing their mind. When knitting with multiple strands, it is hard to have an even and identical tension maintained with the different strands of yarn used. The knitter who has the ability to accomplish this will not need to worry about dominance. There won't be any. For instance, the Scandinavian knitters Arnie and Carlos think there isn't such a thing as tensioning the yarn. In their knitting style, it is easier to knit fabric that has even identical tension in all the various strands that they use. Perhaps this is why they don't really mind about color dominance either. I have not seen any purl stitches in their Fair Isle fabric either. So the reason that Arnie and Carlos don't see color dominance is because their tension is the same across both colors. If when you are knitting, you are tensioning differently, that's where color dominance comes into play. Isn't that like the most clear explanation you've heard? She says, I mentioned this because the matter is further complicated by purling and knitting, creating ribbed patterns such as the ones I showed last week. It is virtually impossible to be a thrower or English knitter and have the same tension in both strands of yarn when knitting with 2 colors in ribbing. Purl stitches are created in a way that will always contract the strand of yarn a little bit differently compared to knit stitches. Unless a knitter is able to control this in an intuitive way and or master even tension through practice, one of the colors will be dominant depending on how loose their purling and their knitting are. Henrietta says, I am a continental knitter, me too. And I knit in a way similar to the Scandinavians, maybe I do too. But I don't use any tools when I do color work. No ring on my index finger, no sorter on my thumb, etc. My less dominant color will be the one I tension more. In this case, this is the one I pinch with my thumb and middle finger on my left hand. The more dominant one will be the one I wind around my left index finger. See, when I do it, I don't do it like that. I don't pinch anything. I just hold both strands and I choose them with the needle. That's how I do it. Okay, she says the more dominant one I wind around my left index finger as those stitches will be knit a bit more loosely and so they will be a bit bigger, dominating the fabric I create. I have seen knitters in action who knit the very same way I do, but their dominant yarn is the one they wind around their index finger. I've also seen one master knitter, that's her mom, who tensions her different yarn strands in a completely even way. And her projects look the same no matter which yarn she winds around which finger. When I asked how she did this, she just said, I adjust. I think Italian home cooks give similar answers on quantities of ingredients in their recipes. You just have to feel it. Wow, I think Henrietta explained that so well. Color dominance exists if you are not equally tensioning the yarn. That's what it's about, because the bigger stitches dominate. So it's not about, for you, it might be, well, it's the one you hold on top, or it's the one you hold on the bottom, or it's the one you wind around here, or it's the one you whatever. That's because you are tensioning it differently. So the rules are going to vary depending on the knitter, which is so true. And this is kind of what I was saying a little bit last week about this, how even though I got gauge with my swatch, that didn't translate to my project. People knit differently, and sometimes it just doesn't work, and it's not the designer's fault. It's just, this is the way you knit. Stitches are going to be different depending on the way that you tension them. And it's going to be different from a swatch to a big, in this case, sweater, or in the case of what Henrietta's talking about with color dominance when working color work. And then knitting and purling, rib, such as one by one. Was it a one by one last week? The picture I showed? Gosh, where is that email? I forget. I feel like it was a one by one rib, wasn't it? So it was a knit, purl. It was a corrugated rib. Is that right? Gosh, I don't remember. Anyway, that is so interesting. It's about the way that you're knitting. So also an email that I got in response to last week's episode is from Nancy Morgan. And she says, Devin, I wanted to show you a photo of German folk art painting called Bauernmalerei. My German's not great, which is often called Bavarian folk art. I painted this fireplace screen many years ago, but no longer have a fireplace to display it in. The style is very similar to rosemaling, which is Norwegian. I'm sure the American hex sign painting had its roots in these cultures. I'm sure it did too. I think this is beautiful, Nancy. I absolutely love it. Definitely do not need a fireplace. You can put that thing anywhere, wherever it'll fit. Put it up, because it is great. Professor Pearl says, I think even though you didn't pay attention to the color dominance on your sweaters, you must be a consistent knitter. Same as what Henrietta said. There is a yarn store called Wall of Yarn in Illinois. The owners are the yarn suppliers in North America for a major color work yarn, Rauma. One of the owners did not pay attention to color dominance when he was a new knitter, and he is a great example of a sweater where you can see it. It was more visible than your sweater because he was not consistent. I wish I took a picture to show you. Anyway, I think you need to wear a tinfoil hat with me. Yes, tinfoil hats for everyone. So whether or not color dominance exists is knitter dependent. Interesting. Gosh, I love that so much. Elaine says, my grandmother taught me to knit when I was 5, and 72 years on, I am still knitting and learning new techniques. Wow, Elaine, that is awesome. Hello from across the pond. Emily of Knock Knits says, Devin, I've been searching everywhere for months for that name of that little crocheting kid. Well, he's not little anymore. I feel like he's 17 now, 16 or 17. Yes, God bless Jonah. She says, I snuck away from my house this morning for an hour of alone time, and I sat outside and knit and listened to your podcast, and it was such a treat. Yes, I totally get it. Like Charlotte was sick this week, and she was like vomiting sick, like really down and out. She was it was terrible, but it was like 3 days. You know how it is. So she was on the couch for 3 days, just sick as a dog. And then one morning she popped up and she said, I'm all better. And she has not stopped talking to me since then. So I get it. Like you love them and you want to hear everything they have to say because they're so smart and creative and interesting. But sometimes you're just like, okay, Kim says, what colors are in your Benedicta? Referencing the sweater that I wore last week. Those are scraps. Now the yellow is Brass Tacks from 29 Bridges yarn. And the pink, it's similar to my Dusty color, but that's actually a fingering weight that I held double because that was what I had and it worked out great. So that brass tacks colorway is great. The color that I make that's the most similar to that is actually Bosque. Bosque leans more green, but Bosque and Dusty together, it's like a lower contrast. Gosh, that would be amazing. Here's another super smart comment. Anne says, Devin, I always enjoy your podcast and your children are adorable. Love Gigi's owl blanket. On the subject of mixing fibers, I just had to chime in. I'm not Jewish, but I have studied the Old Testament quite a bit. This law about combining linen and wool in one garment is listed in scripture under sundry laws, meaning the laws to keep the Israelites set apart from pagan cultures. I always felt like the reason not to mix wool with linen was a practical one, because back in the day, there were no dry cleaners. Shrinkage possibilities could have been a factor. The spiritual component was that God wanted the Israelites to keep themselves holy and not follow the customs of the surrounding idol-worshiping cultures. Fortunately, we Christians today don't live under the letter of those types of laws, and if we want to wear a garment of wool and linen together, we have dry cleaning or eukalon. Yes, so true. That's another just great, interesting take on it, that this was a common mixture maybe of the pagan cultures, and therefore it was to set them apart, or perhaps they just didn't play well together in the days of, hand washing your clothes in the river. I don't know. So interesting. Here's another super interesting one. Beatrice said, my husband heard the podcast and he had this to say. In colonial Williamsburg, the inhabitants could not get fine cloth like what is available in England. They had to make do with homespun linsey woolsey, a linen wool blend. So interesting. Makes sense though, right? D. Saunders says, not to throw a shade on linen quill. The colors are beautiful and I must have at least 20 skeins of it. But the Cain and Abel of it all may just explain why I have never, ever finished a project that I have started with linen quill. I've knit and ripped out some of the colors so many times that the balls are now practically threadbare. It's cursed. I don't know. I have never used it. I think it's, what is it? It's wool linen, but I think it has something else in there too. I forget what it is. You guys are all yelling it at the screen right now, but I don't know what it is. But the Fiji fingering it's not even linen, it's cotton. So all people can feel good about using the Fiji fingering. Jews, Christians, pagans, heathens, everyone can use this yarn. All right, moving right along to knitting fantasies. Now, as I talked about last week, we're all very excited for Maggie and her baby. Maggie is one of Gigi's best friends, and Gigi is only 14 and Maggie is only 21, but Maggie just got married last fall and she is now expecting her first baby, who is a boy. I got to see Maggie yesterday and she's a cute little baby bump. She's like 6 months now, or 5, I don't know. Anyway, we're very excited about knitting for Maggie's baby, so it's gonna be some baby knits for a little while. There's a lot of unisex baby knits because not everybody finds out if they're having a boy or a girl. And baby clothes, I mean, it's cute when they are, very specific, very boy or very girl. That's really cute. But there's a lot of great unisex patterns out there. This one is the Eve Romper by Pippi Eve on Etsy. It's super cute. It says perfect for a beginner. It's garter stitch, but it's knit in 2 pieces, so it's knit flat, so you're always knitting. That's really nice. It says 2 variations are included. Both are in 2 pieces, bottom up, but the main design is more, I guess, girly. It has a shoulder tie straps and a sewn crotch seam. Now, with baby knits, the ability to get the knit on the baby is the most important factor of a knit. The second thing is washability. So if you can't get it on the baby, the mom is not going to put it on. And if she can't wash it, she's not going to use it. So those 2 things are the most important. Just remembering back to my baby days, which were not all that long ago. So the sewn crotch seam, you just have to pull it up. The alternative is a buttons on the crotch seam. And also if you have to change a diaper, you need buttons. I wouldn't sew a crotch seam. It's too much work for the mom. Buttons are good, or even snaps would be good. If you have a snap, a little gadget that puts snaps on. And then there's a version with buttons here. So there's a couple different versions of this. It's like a $5 pattern. It has 4 sizes, 0 to 3 months, 3 to 6 months, 6 to 12 months. They grow in this time, but knits also stretch. I don't know. I would not make all of these sizes. It's beginner level, Aran weight. So I don't know. I guess it depends when you want the baby to wear it, but it'll stretch. Knits do stretch, and that's really nice. I also chose these baby overalls by Rainer and Bear. These are knit in the round, and this is for DK, also in 4 sizes, but it's 0 to 6 months, 6 to 12 months, 1 to 2 years, and 2 to 3 years. So really, really cute. But again, for changing diapers, it needs to open at the bottom. I don't think I would knit anything, unless it's pants, just pants that you take off and put on. Pants are okay, but anything that you would have to undo the top and pull the whole thing off to change a diaper, moms just won't do that. It's too much work. Okay, so here's what happened. I'm feeling kind of like, okay, this is my story. I get to say whatever I want. So it's not super knitting related. If you're not interested, you can just cut the podcast off here. I'm not going to say much else about specifically knitting. This is mostly about the retreat and the Facebook group. However, it is a little ridiculous, so feel free to listen if you like ridiculous things. I am attending the Arkansas Yarn Co. retreat in September, all right? And Lindsay and Lori are putting this on, and I only know them through the internet, and I'm gonna go meet them in person, and I'm so excited because they are so wonderful. I have talked to Lori on the phone. She's delightful. So when I signed up for their retreat, they had this whole email that had like a Facebook group and a welcome letter and a Google form, and I was like, this is amazing, I wanna do this. And when I did mine, it wasn't as cool as theirs. But I did definitely copy the Facebook group and the Google form, because a Google form is like a questionnaire where you can say all the things you want to say, and that's so helpful for me. Like, what are you most excited about in the swag bag? That is so helpful for me because I have a certain budget to work with and I can put it toward what you want the most. So things like that have been great. And then there was the Facebook group. So their Facebook group is easy because it's like 3 years old and the same people attend the retreat every year. And so they just had to add or subtract a few people. But mine was started from scratch by a Facebook idiot, me. I don't use Facebook. I don't know all of its ins and outs. Also, it is draconian. Facebook is draconian. Facebook started like in 2000, I don't know, 5 or something, right? And it just kept evolving over time. So the users just kept evolving with it. If you go in as a new user, you're like, how did I stumble into, East Germany circa 1970? Like, what is happening here? Like, it is difficult to use is an understatement. So there's 2 ways to invite people to a group, and there's a million ways to have your group. Is it public? Is it private? Is it visible? Is it hidden? So I set up the group and I invited people in both ways. Like, you can send out emails, which you have to enter one at a time. You can't, I have all my emails in a comma separated document where you just select all, cut and paste. But you couldn't do that. I had to put them all in one at a time. And then after a while, they're just like, you're done, no more. And I'm like, but I've only put half of them in. Oh, that's it, no more for you. Or there's a link. They're like, okay, we'll send people this link. It expires in 48 hours or after 28 people have clicked it. And you're like, but I want more people than that. No soup for you, no group for you. It's the Facebook Nazi. Oh my gosh. So, and the weird thing is some people got right in. Other people would get this thing that says, no, you're not allowed in. And I was like, I don't get it. So my husband, my knight in shining armor, came to my rescue. He's just really smart. He's just really smart and he can figure stuff out. And where I lack in the tech sphere, he has, everything. He's got the smarts in spades in the tech sphere. So, but even he was stumped. Like, why does this work for some people and not for others? And so he's like, it has to be a setting. And many thanks to both Lindsay and Wendy, who sent me an email saying, I just changed a setting and that made it work. So I said, okay, people must have privacy settings that are disallowing them to get into the group. And other people would email me and say, I checked my privacy settings. They're open wide and I still can't get in. And I'm like, it doesn't make sense. So my husband had the brilliant idea to unhide it. It keeps it private because people had already posted things. I couldn't like take it public for a little bit and then pull it back because people had posted things and I didn't know if they wanted them to be public. But he was able to just make the group searchable because I ultimately didn't want it to be searchable because I just wanted the group to be who was invited. But by making it searchable, that allowed the invited people to find it. So for those of you who are coming to the retreat, many of you are in, more than half of you are in the Facebook group. Once you get in there, it's amazing because there's people's pictures. You can see their faces. It is great. It is a wonderful, wonderful place to be if you can make it through the door. So if you're still not in, search it. It's the Knitty McPurly Retreat, Grapevine, Texas, 2025. Search for it. And when you find it, you can ask to join the group. Now, if you're not coming to the retreat, you can't get in the group. I'm sorry. But if you are coming, you need in. I only had one person message me and say, I'm not using, and I joined Facebook for the group, for the Arkansas group and this group. That is all I do. You can friend me if you want. I will not be your friend. I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm not my husband's friend. I'm not anyone's friend. I accidentally friended someone to see if that would help them get in the group. And then I unfriended them because I don't want to get sucked into Facebook. Like I said before. Anyway, I did have one person say to me, look, I'm not doing Facebook at all, non-negotiable. And I was like, that's fine. If anything comes up that's important, I can just email the handful of people who just will not do it. I get it. I totally get it. The internet is tough. It's a tough, tough world and you got to protect yourself. So make sure you have good passwords on everything. When people get hacked, and I know this because my husband, when people get hacked, it's because they're using the same password on multiple sites. Don't do that. You need a really weird password that's unique that you use everywhere and then have a password safe. I wouldn't be doing any of this stuff. I'd be one of those people who got hacked every 5 minutes if it weren't for my husband. Thank goodness. So anyway, it is fixed now if you just search for it. And if you still don't find it, email me and I will help you get in. But we basically have figured it out. The group is going to remain searchable until we have everybody in and then we will hide it again. But I worked on this for days, you guys. Like, it was just so confusing why some people would toggle one thing and then they got in and other people would be like, I did everything and it still won't let me in. And I'm like, I don't know why. And if I invited somebody with one of their email addresses and then I tried to invite them on a different email address because they were like, I use this one on Facebook. Facebook would be like, no, you already invited that person. We know who they are and you already invited them. See, this is a reason not to use it, right? So creepy. But anyway, it's great once you're in there. It really is. I feel like I made it sound terrible, but it's really great. It's wonderful to interact with you guys because so many of you I met last time. And the hard thing is knowing your name and your face and your Instagram name and knowing all three of those things together, that all of those are you. It's just really helpful to have the visual. So crazy, crazy stuff. All right, I've already talked too long. Have a wonderful week. Hopefully you will see me at some point after my trip. Have a great week, maybe 2 weeks. Bye, knitters.